The playwright J.B. Priestley, writing about these stone walls, said that even on a cloudy day they seemed to stay warm and luminous. It was as if, he said, they had learnt the trick of keeping the lost sunlight of centuries glimmering about them. Find out where and what exactly he was talking about in just a moment. Today I'm accompanying a pair of retired folk singing teachers on a very harmonious house hunting odyssey. And they give the acoustics a try out at our first property.
Adieu, sweet lovely Nancy, 10,000 times adieu.
And our mystery house has them planning a musical finale.
We've always wanted a house where we could put a piano.
Yes, and certainly you could put a piano here.
Today we're in the Cotswolds, and Mr. Priestley was, of course, talking about this great oolite limestone, better known to you and I as Cotswold stone, the ubiquitous building material in this part of the world. And I'm in Bourton-on-the-Water, which is known as the Venice of the Cotswolds because of these bridges which crisscross the river Windrush, which flows through the centre. And every August, the villagers, intrepid as they are, play football in the water. I shan't be doing that, but it is testament to the character of this part of the country. The area known as the Cotswolds stretches from Warwickshire in the north to Wiltshire in the south and covers well over 2,000 square kilometres. Of the 40 areas of outstanding natural beauty in England and Wales, the Cotswolds is the largest, but it's also one of the less densely populated, with over half of its parishes home to fewer than 300 residents. Although much of the economy of the Cotswolds was originally built on the wool trade, the main industry today is tourism. Every year, this region welcomes over 23 million visitors, attracted by its recreational opportunities, cultural heritage and natural attractions, such as the 3,500-year-old Rollright Stones, located just a few miles outside the Oxfordshire town of Chipping Norton. These ancient stones include the King's Men Circle, which consists of 77 local oolitic limestones. And theories abound as to their purpose. Some argue they were built as a victory memorial, whilst others suggest a temple. Either way, their mystery is all part of their unique appeal. The Cotswolds stretch over 6 counties, so as you can imagine, there's big price variation. For example, if you look at the average prices across the area, then there's about £120,000 difference between the least expensive Cotswold county, which is Herefordshire, and the priciest Oxfordshire. And then if you want to live in one of these beautiful villages, then local agents assure us then you're going to have to pay 5 to 15% on top. But when you see what's on the market, you'll understand why they're so pricey. For £300,000, you could buy this 3-bedroom stone cottage in Middle Barton. With traditional features such as an inglenook fireplace in the sitting room and flagstone flooring and a range cooker in the kitchen, this property also offers a pretty secluded garden with a lawn and patio. Priced at a touch over £540,000, there is this 3-bedroom 17th century cottage in the village of France Lynch. Constructed from Cotswold stone, it boasts exposed beams in the huge and sociable kitchen. And the addition of the modern conservatory really makes the most of those stunning countryside views. And if you have a bigger budget, then you might be interested in this 5-bedroom barn conversion in Condicut, on the market for £775,000. Built in the late 17th century, the drawing room has a Cotswold stone fireplace and the spacious kitchen diner has been recently refurbished. Gosh, there are really beautiful properties here in the Cotswolds. Let's meet the clever couple who've decided to make the move here. Retired teachers Chris and Leslie are no strangers to moving to the country, although it was the French countryside they chose to escape to 5 years ago.
We decided to move now because we've been 5 years living in France. We decided to review everything after 5 years anyway, We had one new grandchild, and there was another one on the way. Our mums are getting older, and we were missing the music and the sort of cultural side of England a lot.
Although they're glad to be back, matching their idyllic French property is not going to be easy.
Our house in France was a stone cottage with an attached, very large, very beautiful barn. It was 3-bedroomed, 2 receptions. It was in beautiful grounds with a sort of landscape garden, which is quite unusual in France. And it was right in the middle of farmland. So it was sort of ideal, really. It was a lovely setting.
But after a lot of research, there's one region in Britain they feel offers equal appeal.
I think we decided in the end that we'd like to focus our attention on the Cotswolds because it's a very, very beautiful area. We are aware of the fact it's an expensive area to buy a house in, but we think on balance it's got a lot to offer. And
it's also fairly central for us to visit our family because we have family scattered in various directions, and it's pretty much central to most of them.
As well as seeing more of the family, Chris and Leslie want to rekindle their musical aspirations.
When we were in France, we were lucky enough to be able to play at the night markets they have in the summer evenings. And that was really good fun, and we would love to be able to continue to do something like that.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to find the folk scene in the Cotswold area and get really involved in gigging again.
So music remains a key passion. They'd also like some outdoor space and a room for indulging in their artistic hobbies. But these aren't the only requirements on their wish list.
In our next property, we're looking for a minimum of 3 bedrooms, possibly 4. We would like an additional reception room to give us the opportunity to have a music room stroke creative arts type room. In terms of the garden, we're looking for enough garden for Chris to grow some vegetables and for there to be some lawn and flower beds, and if there could be 1 or 2 fruit trees, that would be wonderful. And in the kitchen, we are hoping that we will find something large enough for Chris because he loves cooking, and if possible, that there's a range cooker, because that would be absolutely fantastic.
That would be absolutely fantastic to have a range cooker.
Yes.
And as cash buyers who can move quickly, they're in a great position. So all that's left to confirm is the money.
Our budget for this house will be a maximum of £450,000.
Chris and Leslie have told us that they'd prefer to live within a 15-mile radius of the Gloucestershire market town of Stow-on-the-Wold. We'll be having a look at 3 superb properties that we hope they'll be singing the praises of, and as usual they'll be having a guess at the price of each before I reveal it. The final offering is of course our mystery house, which I think with a bit of imagination could give them a very harmonious home. Welcome back to England, guys, to the lovely
you.
Cotswolds. So nice to have you here. Now, you've been away from the English market for 5 years, in which time property prices have really kind of gone a little crazy here.
Yes.
And you do have quite a big wish list.
Yeah, we do. And we're well aware of that. And I know we want the moon on a stick. But this is such a beautiful area. And at the end of the day, we know we've got to compromise probably. So we're very realistic about what we think we're going to be up for.
Because location is really one of our prime priorities. And we think we found the nearest thing that we had in France in terms of peace and quiet and tranquility.
It's the scenery.
In the Cotswolds.
Yeah. Plus the folk music.
Plus the folk music, yes.
There are some beautiful houses here, and even the most modest house looks kind of beautiful because of the Cotswold stone. So I'm excited to show you the ones we've got. Let's go. So, for their forever home back on British soil, Chris and Leslie have £450,000 to spend. And they'd like a house in a tranquil location, with 2 reception rooms, so they can devote one of them to music, a large farmhouse-style kitchen with a range cooker, at least 3 bedrooms, and a secluded garden. Now, I'm afraid you know what I'm going to do, because we're in a car and we've got a journey. I'm going to ask you to sing.
OK.
Come fill up your glasses and let us be merry,
for to rob bags of plunder, it is our intent, as we roam through the valleys, where the lilies and the roses, and the beauty of Kashmir lay drooping his head.
We're heading to the Gloucestershire village of Mickleton on the edge of the Cotswolds, and just a 20-minute drive from Stow-on-the-Wold. Architecturally, black and white buildings with thatched roofs stand alongside those built of Cotswold limestone, and a Norman church dominates the centre of the village. It's a location full of amenities such as a local shop and post office, as well as a hotel with brasserie and restaurant. Our first property is a thatched cottage, parts of which date back 400 years.
So, this is property number 1. What do you think?
It looks very interesting.
Yes, it is interesting. It's certainly got a lot of character.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously this thatch part is the older part, and this is a Victorian extension. Are you not scared of the thatch?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I've always been a little bit concerned about thatch, because I've heard that every 15 years you might have to get it renewed, and that's a big outlay.
Well, the ridge, which is the bit that goes most quickly, it was done 7 years ago, and the main body of the thatch about 9 years ago. But a good thatch should last you about 50, 60 years.
Oh, well, that's good news.
That's...
So that wouldn't be a concern then.
With their minds put at rest, we're heading inside through the back door, as with many country houses. And I think our first room will particularly appeal to Chris.
Coming to the kitchen. So this is your domain, Chris.
It is.
How does it measure up?
It's charming. Nice log burning stove. Love the floors, flagstone floors.
Yes.
It's not as big as we had in France, but it's a nice size.
Yes. And I think this...
The fact you can spill out into
yes,
that.
absolutely. I think that's
good.
really lovely to have.
Because we're
that.
used to sort of sitting around kitchen table in the kitchen.
But you're
I
not
think to have some-
completely separated
No,
either. If somebody's
no.
working in the kitchen, you can still actually chat to them if they're sitting out there, can't you?
If Chris and Leslie want a more intimate or formal seating arrangement, there's an additional dining room, which separates the kitchen from the sitting room, which is the next area on our tour.
So this is the sitting room in the oldest part of the house. This would have been the original thatched cottage.
Cosy.
Yes, and
A
very
nice
quaint.
fireplace. Wood burning stove again, which is
Yeah.
good.
So it's a very snug property. In
It
the
is.
winter it's very cosy and warm.
It is.
I always feel at home in properties of this sort of age, actually.
It's more easy to...
Yes, they feel very homely
You feel
as soon
as
as
though
you
you
walk
could
in.
move your stuff in, and
Yeah.
within a very short time you'd feel at home.
Yes.
But that's the nature of this sort of property. I think that's its advantage.
It's a positive sign that they're feeling at home here. Off the kitchen dining area is a very convenient cloakroom cum utility room. While upstairs, there's a very spacious family bathroom with a shower and lots of storage. This is shared by the 3 bedrooms they've asked for. The first, a quirkily shaped but good-sized double room. The second, a characterful single with exposed beams. And the third is the room they could be calling their own.
So this is the master bedroom.
I like it. Yes.
Now, these floorboards are original, aren't they?
Yeah.
These are the originals. You see the difference?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Wide.
They are lovely.
I think the only issue might be accessibility of bedrooms for our 2 mothers, who are quite elderly now. So we'd have to think about that quite seriously, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 3 bedrooms is enough?
Yes. A 4th would be good if we could find a house with a 4th, but 3 would be adequate.
Well, maybe we have found one with a 4th. Follow me.
Yes, this property comes with an unexpected treat at the bottom of the garden. A double-storey annex where you could easily fit a 4th bedroom.
Across the garden, you get all this.
Something else.
Yes. Yes, this could be useful.
Well, following on what you were saying about your parents not being able to get upstairs, you could turn this into a very nice sort of downstairs bedroom suite.
Bedroom.
You could. Yes.
There's also an boarded upstairs, which might be good for the grandchildren.
Yes.
Or we were thinking you could use it as a music room.
I think my first thought would be music.
Do you want to try out the acoustic?
Adieu, sweet lovely Nancy, 10,000 times adieu. I am going around the ocean, love to see.
Sounds promising to me. Meanwhile, outside the garden awaits, with its lawn and fruit trees. But will it be large enough for these 2 songbirds?
Of true love, while I
This is the garden. We haven't really talked much about your garden expectations. What does this make you feel?
It's very pretty, and it has got enough grass, definitely, and it's private. It's quite secluded, which are all things we wanted.
But what it doesn't have is the
Is space for a
some
vegetable
vegetables,
garden.
which is the thing that I was
That's-
particularly keen on having.
The only thing is, of course, sometimes if you're lucky in a village, you can find an allotment.
Gosh, it's like you read my mind. There are indeed plentiful and cheap allotments in this village,
Are there?
Oh,
That's good.
all of which would be totally theoretical if you can't afford to buy it. So what do you think it's on the market for?
I'm going to have a guess at 425,000.
I'm thinking because it's got an annex a little bit more. I think it's probably 449,950.
Oh, so right at the top of the budget.
Yes.
Well, you've been away from the market for quite some time, so your figures are slightly out, but luckily they're out in the wrong direction, because
Oh.
this is on the market for £400,000.
Oh, right. OK.
That's very good news.
Yes, it is.
Very good. So why don't you have a look around inside and explore, because there's lots of rooms we haven't seen, and then I'll meet at the front and we can take it from there.
OK.
Well within their budget at £400,000, this property looks like a real contender. It has a large kitchen diner, 3 bedrooms, an annex which could house an extra bedroom and a music or arts room, and a pretty garden with allotments nearby for growing veg.
I think when we arrived, my first thought was, I think this is going to be a little bit small for us. And then the more we walked around, the more we thought, hold on, there's more to this house than meets the eye. But as a whole, I think it really works.
We probably wouldn't have looked at a cottage this age because, in general, older properties like this tend to be quite small. But because there's the Victorian extension, we've got the best of both worlds in actual fact, because we love the character of this cottage, but we've actually got the light and space that we wanted in the Victorian part as well, so it meets all our requirements, really.
I wonder if they sing all around the house. The price of the house is very, very fine. 400k, not 449. Come on, guys, hurry up. I was imagining that you make all the comments around the house in close harmony. It's not the case, is it?
No, not at
definitely
all.
not.
Quite disappointed. You might have to practice. OK, that's house number 1 done. House number 2 is on the horizon.
OK, thank you.
In the Middle Ages, wool production made the Cotswolds one of the wealthiest parts of England. And in the Oxfordshire market town of Chipping Norton, dubbed the gateway to the Cotswolds, you can find a fine example of what's known as a wool church, which means it was built from the proceeds of the wool trade. Indeed, this, the parish church of St Mary, was rebuilt in Gothic style by an affluent local wool merchant in 1485. Today, Chipping Norton has a reputation as a centre for music, with a festival that celebrated its centenary in 2004. And Chris and Leslie will be pleased to hear there's a day devoted to folk music every autumn. A resident who's been making his living from music here for over 30 years is luthier Paul Fisher, who constructs all types of instruments. He's also a leading figure in the local folk music scene. We sent our singing buyers to meet him.
Well, here we have the workshop of musical instrument maker, and you can see before you here quite a range of instruments. We have here classical guitars. At the back you have a mould for a guitar of the 17th century, a Stradivari guitar in fact.
I noticed the
That's one of the only complete examples actually is in Oxford, which is very convenient for me to go and do the research.
Paul, am I right in thinking you haven't always been a classical guitar maker?
I began as a harpsichord and made harpsichords, spinets, clavichords and octavinas. When you actually learn how the instrument's constructed, you realise what a wonderful piece of engineering it is.
Paul is currently working on putting together a classical guitar. The most important piece of the instrument is the soundboard, which is made from 350-year-old European spruce, an extremely stiff and strong wood. The back, which acts as a receptor for the sound, is carved from hard Brazilian rosewood, now a banned wood, which requires a licence from DEFRA before use. The sides are also rosewood, planed down by hand steam bent and placed onto a mould for 24 hours to hold its shape. And the neck is made of mahogany, which needs to be strong and stable to withstand the pull of the guitar strings. Paul's giving Chris and Leslie a rare chance to try carving the heel of this part of the instrument.
This is freehand work you do with a very, very sharp chisel. Here we have a neck that's partly made, and this is how you begin. You're holding a chisel upside down and simply carve away.
When playing the guitar, the hand and thumb reach up to the heel of the neck, so this part must have a distinct curve and be very smooth.
So, who would like to first go?
Can I just add, this is a reject, is it, that we're working on?
It's not a reject.
It's not a
This
reject.
is the real thing.
So there's no pressure on us then?
No. Oh, Leslie. That's it. Good.
Another method of carving is to turn the neck around and rest it on your shoulder, so you can use both hands on the chisel.
Now you can see why I didn't do any woodwork.
Well, I hope you're going to make your own guitar now.
Well, I feel inspired to, I must admit.
With musical inspiration overflowing for Chris and Leslie here in the Cotswolds, let's hope we can keep up the tempo as we return to our property search. We've travelled around 15 miles east of Stow-on-the-Wold to Middle Barton in Oxfordshire, part of a lively community on the River Dawn. It has a splendid Gothic church and a pub which hosts regular music nights, where Chris and Leslie could do their folk thing. Our second property is an end-of-terrace stone cottage, which was once upon a time the village bakery, and it's believed to date back to the 1750s.
House number 2, and it's really this end of terrace, so right down to the end of the building.
Okay.
What are your first impressions?
It's very pretty.
It is.
Very pretty, yes.
I suspect it's going to have some character.
Yes.
We're close to Chipping Norton, which has a great art scene,
Yes.
and about 2 miles away there's a pub that has folk almost every night.
It sounds promising,
Well,
doesn't it?
yes, it does. It does. And it seems to be relatively quiet here as well.
Couldn't get you quite as remote as we'd hoped, but let's look inside.
Okay.
Well, they seem quite taken with the location, and I'm sure that the interior of this stunning property won't disappoint.
Come on in.
Thank you.
Here we are in the sort of oldest room and the biggest room, really. You've got this fantastic fireplace
Lovely fireplace.
and this incredible beam across the top, and you can see the maker's mark. You see the little kind of triangular shape
Ah, yes.
cut in
Yes.
there
Yes.
to keep evil spirits away.
It's quite homely feel to the house.
And they've retained the character features like the doors.
Yeah.
I love this area here with the old oak
Yes.
partition.
I love those features in houses like this.
So that homely feeling is descending on Chris and Leslie. Good news for us. Also in this lovely home is a bright study, which could be a useful space for their arts and crafts and their music. But we're heading for the kitchen and breakfast area. Originally 2 rooms, now converted into 1.
Come through to this raised part underneath the beam.
Yes.
It's interesting. And the floor is lovely.
Yes. Original again.
And there's a nice big space for a cooker.
And you've got a double range, which I know is your...
It is.
Yes. It's an unusual shape
It's
in
an
a way.
unusual shape,
but it's
there's
workable,
plenty of,
isn't
there's
it?
enough workspaces. And
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
obviously it's been separate. It was 2 rooms of it originally.
Yeah.
And what they've done is sort of join it up and say, actually, if you have all these doors open, it's sort of like a circle.
Yes.
As you go through here, you've got a very nice, spacious dining room,
right.
good size. Well, this side of the house, which is a separate age, is actually really beautifully maintained. So I wanted to show you the bedroom and bathroom up here.
Okay.
And the bedrooms certainly live up to the rest of this wonderfully characterful property. There's a single room with exposed beams, and more of those narrow black timbers feature in the spare double room. There's even beams in the family bathroom, which otherwise is very modern. Up in the eaves, they've made great use of the distinctive space by adding an attic bedroom, a fun place for the grandchildren. But we're taking a look at where they would sleep.
I love this bedroom.
Oh, yes. Lovely and light.
Yeah.
It is lovely, isn't it?
So this is essentially a separate wing. So you've got 3 bedrooms at that end of the house, up the elm staircase. which would be great for the kids and people staying, because it's got their own bathroom. And then you've got this bedroom, which is really lovely, very light, nice shape.
So you could actually hive off away from your guests if you wanted to, for a little bit of
that
peace and
sounds a good
quiet.
idea.
It does, doesn't it?
I like that.
And they could even do a spot of singing if they wanted in the next room.
Quite a bathroom.
Wow.
That's
Very
lovely.
sumptuous, isn't it?
Lovely.
Double shower, big roll-top bath.
Gosh,
I
beautiful.
love the double shower.
Yes. Very luxurious. No, I think it's
Promising.
very interesting.
Mm.
I think the more we've seen,
It's definitely
the
grown
more,
on us.
the more we like it.
Yes.
Well, talking of
Yes.
growing, we've yet to see the garden.
Ah.
This time, I'm sure Chris isn't going to be disappointed, as at the bottom of this garden, which is mostly laid to lawn with mature shrubs, there's a plot to grow his veg and a greenhouse too.
Not massive, but it has one very big plus,
Yes.
the veggie patch,
Ah.
and slight down in the sense that you're a bit overlooked.
Yes.
Right, okay.
So, thumbs up for the garden?
Yes.
Yes, I think so. Yes,
Definitely.
definitely.
It's very pretty.
It's a pretty garden and it's got some practical uses as well.
How much do you think it costs? Because we are in the most expensive of the Cotswold counties, Oxfordshire.
I think 475,000.
Over budget, I think. I think it's 465.
So, once again, your French sojourn has made you very pessimistic, because actually this is priced at £435,000.
Ah.
Right, okay.
So,
That's very interesting.
armed with that fact, why don't you go back in,
Yes.
because there's quite a bit we haven't
Yes.
seen,
Yes.
and maybe you can find a room that you could sing in.
Okay.
Okay.
So, pleasingly under budget at £435,000, this property has everything they've asked for, with 4 bedrooms, a large and characterful kitchen with a range cooker, a study space which could be used for music and crafts, and a good-sized garden with vegetable patch.
I like the kitchen because it's quirky. I love the range. It's got a great flagstone floor, plenty of good working spaces.
As we went round the house, we realised how much more space there was. And yes, the more we've walked around it, the more we've grown to like it.
They're singing. They sing everywhere. It's fantastic. Guys, sorry. Oops. Sorry to... We have to leave. Come on out. I'm afraid your time is done in that house. You're obviously sounding the rafters, but 2 houses in a day is quite enough. Let's have a rest.
Yes.
Okay.
As evening falls on a most harmonious passage of house hunting here in the Cotswolds, it marks the end of day 1 of our property search. Ex-teachers Chris and Leslie have sold their rural home in France to move back to the UK to be close to family and find a musical community. So far they've been in perfect sync with our first 2 houses, but coming up our mystery property reaches a crescendo.
It looks very grand.
spacious and,
Yes, it does.
And I find out more about an intriguing pie with origins dating back to a local feud. Can we stay in tune with our folk singing house hunters on day 2 of this property odyssey? For our mystery property, we've decided to gamble on travelling double the distance from Stow-on-the-Wold as we head for the ancient market town of Minchinhampton. Perched on a hilltop in the heart of the Cotswolds, the town has a parish church with a very distinctive coronet tower that was erected in 1863. It also has a lively high street with a butcher's shop, a tea room, and a pub which hosts a weekly folk club. Nestled below the common, our mystery property dates back to 1914 and is built of stone from the local quarry.
Tiddly tiddly tum. Here's the mystery house.
Wow. My goodness.
So the mystery is not really so much about the house, but the location. It's a sort of negative mystery in the sense that we've basically not given you what you wanted, because this is about 30 miles from Stow-in-the-Wold and you wanted to be 15 miles, so it's double the distance. But we brought you here really to show you what you get if you let go of that circumference around Stow.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about the area and the house?
Stunning views. The house, it looks
very grand.
spacious and,
yes, it does. Look extremely
yeah,
spacious.
we can see what you mean about more house and away for your money in this sort of area.
Shall we look inside?
Yes.
Okay.
So spacious looking on the outside this house may be, but inside is where it counts, especially for Chris in the kitchen. He's keen to have one as large as he's been used to in their French farmhouse. Let's see if this one fits the bill.
So this is a very different layout from what we've shown you in the other cottages.
It is.
Come over here, you get a view of the kind of kitchen.
It's lovely.
That's nice,
it's
more
very
open.
spacious, isn't it?
More light and airy.
Originally, there would have been a sort of hallway. They've taken out this wall, as you can see, opened it all up.
I like the idea you could be working in the kitchen, talking to people that are waiting for their food.
A really useful space.
It's not too open plan, it's not too modern inside. They haven't destroyed the character of the house by modernising it. They've kept some of the feel of the period.
There are more character features in the sitting room, which could well provide an answer to their musical prayers.
This is a lovely sized room as well.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Again, 2 rooms knocked together. You've got a nice log burner.
A log burner, which is always good for us.
I could see this as a sort of little music room, little concert room, have a piano.
Yes,
That'd be
you could,
pleasant. Yeah.
couldn't
We've
you?
always wanted a house where we could put a piano.
Yes, and certainly you could put a piano here.
And while the singing goes on in the sitting room, I've earmarked the light modern conservatory for their arts and crafts activities. But now we're heading upstairs, where there is a smart family bathroom with a separate cloakroom next door. These are both shared by 2 reasonably sized bedrooms with more of those lovely views, which could be perfect for Chris and Leslie's in-laws. And of course, there's also a room to suit them.
Now this room, they use it as the master bedroom. It's not actually the biggest bedroom, but it does have these great views up the valley toward Bridgeton.
Yes.
You've also got an ensuite next door. So that's handy, and some big fitted wardrobes.
Yes.
It's quite panoramic, isn't it?
It is. It's beautiful.
It's a stunning view.
It is. No, it's a lovely bedroom.
I can see why they chose it as a master
Yes.
bedroom. Just to have that view when you wake up in the morning.
We haven't forgotten the grandchildren who might appreciate sleeping up in the quaint and charming area on the next floor, where there's also a study and a 5th bedroom which could be used as a playroom or an alternative music room if they prefer. Which just leaves the matter of a garden for Chris to grow his veg.
Oh, what a glorious day to be looking at gardens.
It is.
And although this isn't a huge garden, it does have amazing views.
Yes, they are spectacular in both directions.
I mean, you could get a veggie patch here.
Yeah.
I think a small plot there.
That would really work well, wouldn't it?
Yes.
OK, so how much do you think it costs?
I think I'll say top of our budget, 450,000.
OK. Because it's Stroud and it's not Stow-on-the-Wold, I think it's about 436,000.
Oh. Well, in your tradition of guessing above the prices, you're staying consistent, because actually it's on the market at 430.
430.
Right.
Right.
Clearly, house prices have not gone up as much as you thought while you were in France.
No.
But I'd like you to go inside and explore the rooms upstairs, particularly the rooms at the top, which we thought you could use for music making.
Yes, that would be good.
And we'll see you afterwards.
OK.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, we're well under budget with our mystery house priced at £430,000. And it delivers handsomely on all their needs, with a large and sociable kitchen diner, space for a music and craft room, 5 bedrooms, and enough garden for a vegetable patch.
Oh,
Musical
this looks
instruments.
interesting.
It's a music room.
It is.
This
It
could be
is.
our music
Just
room.
made for our musical instruments.
We haven't had a music room before, have we?
No.
It is further than what we expected. I mean, we would have liked to have been within 15 miles of Stow-on-the-Wold. But at the same time, this house offers a tremendous amount that perhaps houses in that area didn't. For me, the view is just phenomenal, and we never had a house with a view. I really do like dramatic scenery. Leslie's not so keen, and that'll be interesting to to chat with her about that later, because for me, it's very dramatic.
Chris and I don't feel exactly the same about the house, because although we agree on things like the fact that there are lovely views and that there is a lot of space, I think for Chris that would sell the house to him. But for me, that itself isn't enough. I didn't get that warm, homely feeling when I stepped in the door that I hoped I would.
They're not singing. Is that a bad sign? Has there been discord? Guys? Hello?
Yeah?
You ready?
Yeah.
Come on out.
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
No disharmony?
No?
A little bit.
A little bit, not a lot.
A little bit makes for an interesting piece.
The Cotswolds are dotted with beautiful limestone villages steeped in history, folklore and ancient ceremonies, from the famous cheese rolling at Cooper's Hill to the biannual feast called Pig Face Day at Avening. But I've come to Painswick, known as the Queen of the Cotswolds, to meet Carol Maxwell, chair of the local History Society, who's going to tell me more about the unusual traditions and folklore that abound in this village, like the dark story that surrounds the 99 yew trees that grow in the grounds of the parish church.
So what's the story with the yew trees? I've never seen anything like it.
Well, there are various myths attached. They were all planted in about 1792. There has always been an attempt to grow 100, but apparently only 99 will survive, and any attempt to grow another one will result in one of the existing ones dying. It is said that the devil himself will not allow 100th to grow.
So the devil blights the 100th yew tree?
It would seem to be that
And has
way.
anyone tried it?
Yes, lots of times. The latest one, during the millennium, a new tree was planted, and within weeks, one of the existing ones fell down.
I have been struck here in the Cotswolds how each place seems to have these unique and amazing little myths.
Yes, yes. Well, certainly Painswick has its fair share.
And for another mythical tale, Carol has recommended I visit a local pub to track down the story of Painswick's intriguing local delicacy, known as puppy dog pie. Landlord Keith Ayres revived the dish when he moved here 2 years ago.
Keith?
Yes.
Keith, hello.
Welcome.
I've been reliably informed you can tell me about puppy dog pie.
I can do even better than that. I can show you.
Oh, excellent.
Come this way. As you can see, there's a lot of vegetables that go into it. Celery, onions, carrots, mushrooms, leeks.
You're being very discreet because you're not telling me what this is. Well, I'm hoping it's not actually puppy.
It's not puppy. Puppy dog pie goes back maybe a couple of hundred years, and it came about from a feud between the youths of Painswick and Stroud. Essentially, the parents got them together and tried to get a truce going and fed them some nice pies. As they were leaving, they said, by the way, the pie you just had, well, we don't have any meat because we're very, very poor. So consequently, we used our local dogs. So it was more to wind them up, to
so
upset
it was like a
them.
wind-up.
Yes.
Do people get a bit put off by the idea of eating their puppies?
There's always somebody who does get a little bit upset. But in essence, once they're explained about it, it is more humour now rather than serious. So people actually join in with the laugh. I mean, I do ask them that if you hear any squeals while you're eating it, let me know, because it's obviously undercooked.
For the peasant folk in olden times, there wasn't much meat to be had, so this pie traditionally contains a great deal of vegetables, and of course, no puppy dog at all. Today the pie is made using chopped steak, and Keith also adds local bitter and stout for flavour. After 20 minutes in the oven, the pie is ready.
Oh, yowza, look at those. They're amazing. They're like puppy volcanoes.
Yes, very tasty, and they're crying out.
To be eaten?
Yes, whining to be eaten, in fact.
And leaving her tales behind, we're being joined by Carol for the tasting of this great local dish.
Nobody leaves here hungry. That's our philosophy.
It smells delicious.
It's delicious. That's actually great. And here's to Painswick puppies.
Yes, good health.
Quite enough puppy dog pie, delicious as it might be. Time to find out what is happening with our harmonious and sometimes not so harmonious duo. Are they in agreement about which house they like best out of the 3 that we've shown them? Let's find out. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Had a nice spot here.
Yes.
How have the Cotswolds lived up to your expectations?
It's lovely.
I think we're sold on the area. I think we've decided this is the area we'd like to spend a lot of our time in.
And we showed you 3 houses, so let's go through them one by one. The first house did offer quite a lot of what you were looking for.
Yes, it did.
The site of the house was really quiet. We liked the kitchen.
Yes.
The kitchen was a lovely space, and it had many other really appealing period features, didn't it?
Yes, and there was the wood-burning stove as well.
But I think the overall impression we got was that perhaps it was just a little small
Yes.
for us.
And the second house was much more spacious on the inside.
Yes.
I really liked that house. Once I'd moved from the lounge through into the kitchen and the dining room and then upstairs, I grew to like it more and more.
It had a good feel about it, a very
Yes.
homely feel.
And the third house, the mystery house.
My first reaction was, wow, this is just the sort of thing that I'd really been looking for, was something with a tremendous view. We've never lived in a house with a superb view, and to look down over Stroud and have that sort of vista along the valley was amazing. So that sort of wowed me straight away. It really did, for me, capture what I was looking for, and that's where Leslie and I think probably parted a little, because she wasn't so seduced by that as I was.
For me, I didn't feel at home in the house as I had in the second house. As I say, once we'd walked around that house, I felt immediately at home, but that didn't happen to me in the third house.
And overall, what would you say you've learnt and what happens next?
Regarding house 2, we liked that very much, and I think we'd like to go back and look at that again.
Yes.
And explore the village.
And I think the mystery house, that was very interesting for us, I think, because it did open up other possibilities. And I think that one thing it's done is it's reminded us and made us aware that we may have to consider just moving a little bit further from that sort of magic radius that we'd started with in order to get the sort of space and the sort of environment that we probably want to end up with.
Well, I do hope that you find what you need, because I feel that the Cotswolds is missing your tuneful souls.
Oh,
You need to come and bring some harmony into this corner.
that would be very nice.
Gives me a nice warm feeling inside to think that Leslie and Chris were away for 5 years and then came back from France, but we didn't have to crush their hopes of finding a reasonably priced Cotswolds home. In fact, it seems that their dream is eminently doable. One could say in tune with this part of the world. And if you have enjoyed our harmonious house finding, then make sure you come along next time for Escape to the Country.
Chris and Leslie went back to see the second property, but decided it wasn't for them. They've now made an offer on a stone farmhouse in Oxfordshire, just over 15 miles from Stow-on-the-Wold, so they should be moving into their new home very soon. If you'd like to escape to the country in Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland or England and need our help, please apply online at bbc.co.uk/beonashow.